And welcome, everyone, to the Golden Knights Training Camp Bulletin presented by NextGen from City National Arena in downtown Summerlin. Day number 2 for the Golden Knights as they get set for a new season. As you see the guys out, of course, both rinks being utilized here at City National. A couple of different practice groups. They'll have a scrimmage a little bit later on as well. And you see Pete DeBoer front and center, right in the middle of that center ice circle as the Golden Knights start to go through their paces. 9 days away from the season opener, January the 14th at T-Mobile Arena against the Anaheim Ducks. Hi again, everyone. Dave Goucher Shane Hnidy, great to have you with us here. Of course, training camp for the Golden Knights is presented by Martin Harris Construction. The Golden Knights, Shane, this is day 2, and it looks like they're going to kind of follow a similar schedule, right? They've got a couple of practice groups, then they'll have a scrimmage, no exhibition games, as we've talked about. But, as they look forward here, as a former player, I always wondered, when does camp get old? We're not really going to have a chance for it to get old this time around, right?
Well, really, it's deja vu, and it is for me because we're talking about the same thing. I think for the players, it's such a benefit that they had just gone through this type of scenario when we talked about the return of the play into the bubble. So this is familiar. It wasn't then, but it is now about how to run a camp, how I think we're talking about a lot of the same things. We're mirroring the topics we talked about back then, as in, yes, they've been skating. They look sharp in day 1. This team has shown commitment. Pete DeBoer talked about it yesterday after practice. And, for the players, I think they're anxious because you're skating so long, 5 weeks, 4 weeks. Guys have been here on the ice. Now you're into a controlled setting. You're into training camp. That signals there's a season on the horizon, which is a good thing. So there's excitement, there's energy, especially in day 1. And that can carry a long way. Now they're going to start to move into a thing. There's a lot of things to cover. You've got to simulate exhibition games because they're not going to be able to do that. So they'll find ways to do that, scrimmage each and every day. And I think Pete DeBoer and his staff, as well as the players, having been through this, it was easier to put the plan in together that they'll feel the most effective to get themselves ready, as it is a quick turnaround. You mentioned 9 days away from their first game of the regular season.
And they have spoken a lot, Shane, about, drawing from that experience over the summertime back in July, when they had the training camp here before they went into the bubble in Edmonton, how well that went. And sure enough, they went undefeated in the round robin. They talked about they wanted that number 1 seed in the West. They got it. They ended up winning their first 6 games up in the bubble, and then eventually.
So the start they're looking for again.
Yeah, same start would be terrific, especially in a condensed season, right? You've got 56 games in 115 days. It's basically, there's some 3-day breaks in there. I think I looked, there's 5 times they've got a little 3-day break. But other than that, every other day, basically for 4 months till you get to the playoffs.
And I kind of joke about that. They should do the same because it is a sprint, and it's so imperative to be able to come out of the gate quickly and try and get that lead. It is tough to win the way the schedule's laid out with back-to-back games. You're playing the same team over and over. So they can come out 6-0, especially when they play the first 6 of 8 at T-Mobile Arena. I know there's no fans, but there's still a familiarity. There's a comfort to playing in your home arena. You know all the little details of your arena, how the boards balance, how it's going to react on a rim. Goalies are more comfortable play the puck. Defensemen understand the bank passes they need to make. There's just a lot of things that make you feel a little more comfortable playing in your home building. So that's an advantage that they need to take, they take advantage of. They need to be able to come out ready to play from the start. And that's what was hammered home when we talked about return to play, and where they benefited the most was, I think, the preparation the players put in. The commitment to fitness, the commitment to getting back on the ice, the commitment to guys being in Vegas and using their time wisely. Not only using their time wisely, but using protocol the right way to make sure they were healthy so that when they came in, they were ready to go. And now we saw what they were able to do last time. They're going to try and duplicate that type of start they had. And a lot of that is a credit to them, how they were ready, how they've been on the ice. We touched a little bit briefly. Day 1, to me, was very crisp. It was quick. That's not normally what you see after a summer off. These athletes, though, nowadays, it's different from when we played. The way they condition themselves, the way they have ice available to them. They have everything available to them to make sure they are the most prepared they can be.
Well, I invite you to send us your questions, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. Let us know where you're watching. Any questions you'd like to pass along, we'll be happy to answer. A couple of VGK Worldwide people tuning in. Rob on Facebook in Golden, Colorado. And Liliana's on YouTube watching in Henderson, but certainly let us know where you're watching as well. We're going to take a look back out onto the ice here. Of course, the Golden Knights, this is day number 2 of training camp for them. But, to your point, Shane, they have been at this a while, right? Basically 5 weeks. I mean, you look right after Thanksgiving, these guys have been skating, so it's not like this is, their second day together as a group. I think a lot of the focus yesterday was on Alex Pietrangelo, the big free agent.
Deservedly so.
I'm not sure why, but the huge pickup for the Golden Knights here in the offseason. I found it interesting that he said, he was asked how strange was it to put on a different jersey. And he said, well, what was really stranger was when he was still back in St. Louis, and like here, the Golden Knights had some former Golden Knights that skated here just to have ice available. So after he signed with Vegas, he was still in St. Louis and skating with his old teammates, but not able to dress in the Blues locker room.
That's a strange feeling. When you're not allowed in the room, that he's only been in one home dressing room his whole life, and now, he had to move out of there. He's got different uniform on, but I think, he's been able to acclimate himself here because he's been here for a while. Not only with the team, but with the city, which is very important when you have a family, for them to feel comfortable and put them in the best position, because once these guys hit the season, it is on. And you want to make sure everything around you is in place, everything feels comfortable, so that you can put your focus on hockey.
As you take a look at Golden Knights going through day 2 of training camp, and is that Stormy? Who's that? That is
Stormy making a cameo.
It's Stormy. She doesn't even know she's on camera. She's making detailed notes. And speaking of Alex Pietrangelo, there's a look at him along the near boards. He mentioned yesterday, Shane, that he was asked about, kind of getting acclimated to playing with Braden McNabb. That's who he was with yesterday. It looks like that would, I think, be the plan going forward. You've been through this, played with a lot of different partners. How long is that process to get to where you think, this is going to work, I feel comfortable, and it's more kind of second nature?
Well, it depends. I think they really pair off well when you look at the skill sets of both those players and the way they play. I think it's a real good match, and it's obviously why Ryan McGill, Peter DeBoer felt these two would play together as a group. And the thing I like about McNabb is one of those players. He keeps his game simple. He's reliable. He's smart with the puck. He can make good outlet plays, and I think playing with Pietrangelo, it allows him a little more to get up the ice. When you have that comfort, that feeling of a guy that will stay back, that will play responsible, it allows you to have that feeling to go. And these are both highly intelligent players. They've been in the league. They're veteran defensemen. Communication's important. And I think that's the big thing. Not only communication on the ice. These are two guys that are going to talk to one another. They're going to continue to speak throughout camp about certain areas, certain plays, how they want to react here. And it won't take long at all for them to get. And I like the matchup. When you look at the size of these two guys, you're going to be your top pairing playing against the other team's best. It's a tough matchup. And then especially now that you follow up with Martinez and Theodore coming out next, it really gives them a solid top 4. They've always had a good top 4, but Pietrangelo takes it to another level because the areas he impacts in a game are all of them. He can throw him over as your number 1 defensive guy. He can go over as your number 1 power play, although Theodore might have something to say about that. The penalty kill, he's going to be the first guy over the boards. You got a 2-1 lead, he's going to be on the ice in that last 30 seconds. You're down a goal, he's going to be on the ice. He's going to play in every situation.
We later on in the show, by the way, we have a special guest.
Very special.
There's a recently retired defenseman that's going to join us. You can guess his name. It's Derek.
Well, we got to keep him busy. We don't want him to just fall off the map here. It's
we got him out of the retired, house, so he's going to join us a little bit later on.
Out of the house, off the course. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He's very busy. But no, Derek Engelland will join us a little bit later once they get the scrimmages going here at City National Arena. Pete DeBoer was asked yesterday, Shane, about the competition in camp. It's a shortened camp, obviously, but he feels that, and it's rightly so, it brings out the best in players. Competition for jobs. And if you look at where they're at right now, let's kind of stay focused on the defense because that was, we were just talking about it. He basically said there's competition for spots 5 through 8 on that blue line. How do you kind of see that sizing up right now?
Well, it elevates the camp. It really does when you have that. And as someone who never felt comfortable and always felt part of the internal competition for a spot on a defensive group my whole career. And I can't recall a camp when I felt, I'm just going to come in and be automatic in the top 6. It forces you to bring that right preparation, that right focus each and every day because they're watching. And Pete DeBoer touched on. He said, he's still unsure. Fleury and Leonard. There's going to be a battle there to see. I think we're still going to see them both. I think there's going to be a close split. I'm not sure. It may tilt. They may go with a hot hand. I'm not. But camp is part of that. Who looks the best coming out of camp? Who's going to get that first game? So you look at that goaltending. Defensively, Nick Hague, who's had time last year. Pete DeBoer's a big fan of Hague. Big body. He had another year to develop, some time in the NHL. Where is his maturation level got to? They're going to take a look at that. Nick Holden with Zach Whitecloud. You're talking about 5-6. I mentioned the top 4. That's locked in. So Whitecloud and Holden, I thought, played really well in the bubble and the return to play. They look good, but Nick Hague, can he force your hand? That's what you want from the young players. That's why you draft. That's why you have these camps. You don't automatically lock your lineups. You hope someone can come in and force your hand that you have to take a look and say, oh, well, maybe this is how it's going to work. And depth at D is going to be so important. We talked about the schedule. There's going to be injuries. And the other one is at center. They lose Paul Stastny. Right now, Chandler Stevenson's between Pacioretty and Stone. I thought Glass would be a fit there. I actually, we said that on our podcast. I just felt that would be the natural fit for Cody Glass just because I think Mark Stone's one of those players that can elevate a young guy. He did it in Ottawa playing with Colin White and Brady Tkachuk. There's so many Tkachuks out there. With Brady.
Keith Tkachuk.
Yeah,
he doesn't
I
play
played
anymore.
with Keith. Yeah, I know it's not him. With Brady and Stone, I thought with Glass, but Chandler Stevenson had a lot of success. So I think that's the comfortable move right now. And Cody Glass, a significant injury. He used his time well. He put on the muscle. He's developed. He's still a young man. You certainly can see his vision, his skill on the ice. He's going to be a big playmaking center. Pete DeBoer talked about it. They envision him being a 6'2", 215-pound, two-way center that's got great playmaking ability. Those are hard to find. But he's been away from the game. It is tough to jump right back into action. And right now he's with Tuck and Nick Waugh, which is a good fit. So, is he going to stay there? Nosek, then there's going to be some other guys. Again, you don't know who they are, but maybe they force their coaching staff to say, oh, hey. And one of those guys right now isn't here. Right. Peyton Krebs, and when his arrival comes, obviously he's got a pretty big game tonight, the gold medal game against the U.S. Right. And then, I think he's going to get, a couple days off. Then he's got a quarantine. Then he'll get into camp and see where it is. But he's had a tremendous World Junior tournament. He's a guy that really intrigues me. And actually, when you speak to the newly retired defenseman from the Golden Knights, he might be able to talk a little bit about Krebs and having been with him in the bubble and how valuable. And I think the word is not only when you look at young guys, it's great. You can see their skill immediately. But I think more importantly is the other attributes that maybe don't stand out is their willingness to work on their things, their commitment to the game. And commitment, the young guys that can become true pros earlier and understand those elements that make the great players in the league good, the consistency, the preparation, the ability to constantly improve. Those are the type of guys that sometimes can take their game to a pro level quicker.
I want to thank Mr. KB on Twitch from England, checking in for the second day in a row. Are they plus 8 hours over there? So that's
you should know
early
this.
Evening.
You're the host.
I should know this.
I'm just here.
On the Twitters, banana_freckles, second from Idaho.
How do you come up with that?
I don't know. Tammy Lee on Twitch in Calgary. Nate on Facebook in Denver. Thanks to Hella Myers on Twitch for subscribing. We encourage all of you on your Twitch and YouTube viewers to smash that subscription button that says here for all the VGK content. Dave and Shane with you from City National Arena, the Golden Knights. Getting set, it's going to be here before you know it. 9 days away, their season opener for the they're saying 2020-21 season. You know how it is. There's no games this regular season played in 2020. The talk about the younger players, Shane. So you've got Cody Glass coming off an injury. You've got Peyton Krebs, who's going to be here after the World Junior Tournament. Really forced their hand to make the team to get into the bubble over the summertime. When you're a younger guy, even Nick Hague, who's still trying to establish himself in the league, Zach Whitecloud, I think kind of the same, had a great stretch last year. There are a certain level of nerves when you come to camp because you put in this work in the off season, right? And now you want to see, it's all this preparation, but you don't know where it's going to lead to until you actually get on the ice. If you're an established guy, you're Stone, Pacioretty, right on down the line.
It's different.
That's one thing, but a little different for a younger
Well, and
guy.
it's even a little different, I think, for Zach Whitecloud and Nick Waugh this year. And I think I touched on it many times last year. There comes a time in a career when you feel like a National Hockey League player. And I believe that time came after the pause for both Nick Waugh and Zach Whitecloud. I think, they played well. They got called up before the pause, really kind of showed that they could play in the league. But when they came back, there was a new level of confidence. And confidence is key. It really is, to the belief in your game, the belief that you belong. And you saw that as they went into the bubble and the way they played. So I think, Waugh and Whitecloud, at the same time they're coming in comfortable. This is where now it's always lessons. Now you've got to learn the lesson that you take nothing for granted. So as much as they felt comfortable and they were a big part of the playoffs, you've got to come in here and continue to improve. That's what I touched on earlier about becoming a true pro, is that understanding that it's always trying to elevate your game. You're always, and whether it's, breakouts for a defenseman, whether it's, Nick Waugh learning, right now they have him on the wing, understanding defensive responsibility, understanding when he's on that wall to get the puck out to make the right play. Taking passes back and forth. There's always those details to your game that need to be constantly improved so you can become that consistent NHL player that contributes to your team.
Of course, the Golden Knights going through day 2 here at City National Arena. We've got some questions, Shane, and this.
Oh boy.
We're going to try and
pick the easy one. Softballs,
We're going to
please.
try and make it not too difficult. Discussion on YouTube, and it's been a popular topic for a long time, but I think worth delving into a little bit about. They decided to keep Robin Leonard, right? Signs a 5-year free agent deal to stay. Marc-Andre Fleury, obviously a big part of what the Golden Knights do. The discussion on YouTube is what's going to determine who plays. Is it winning? Is it the matchups? Is it the schedule, right? They're playing basically every other day. Do you ride the guy that's hot? How do you? There's all different ways I guess you can look at it.
And I always fail at this game of trying to read the mind of the head coach. This is I'm like 0-4. 0-for a lot.
0-for podcast career.
When you look at it, and what makes it so hard to predict in my mind is you don't know what's going to happen. I think to start, you're going to see a rotation of these guys, and I think it plays itself out from there. Marc-Andre Fleury, we know his competitive level. This is, in my mind, a future Hall of Fame goaltender. He wants to be the number one, and that's great. Robin Leonard wants to be number one, and that's great. That benefits the team when you have two guys that want to compete like that want the job. They want the ball. They want to be in net each and every night. Fortunately, it's not the case. And in this schedule, you're going to need two goalies. We've talked about how beneficial it is with the Golden Knights and their goalie tandem they have heading into the type of season that's approaching, where you're playing every second night. You're playing the same team. Even when you look at it from a strategy-wise, it's good to kind of switch up goalies because that might alter the game plan of the opposition. Fleury and Leonard, drastically different styles of goaltending when you look at both of them. Main thing, though, you still want to both stop the puck, and I think their play is going to determine how it rolls out. To begin, I really believe that we're going to see a rotation, certainly with so many games. If one guy gets really hot, maybe you start to see a run. But in my mind, I would go with a rotation. I think you see who plays the best out of here that gets the first game. Who's best out of camp? Who looks the sharpest early? Maybe that's your starter. I don't know who it's going to be. I can't predict that. Everybody thinks just from what we saw last year, Robin Leonard got the ball. Well, maybe that was enough for him to get the first game or first two games, but I don't think it's going to be a long run. I think you're going to be close to a split here through that first month of the season.
In this season especially, 56 games in 115 days, every other day.
So look at you doing that.
So
BU.
right here on the hard drive. That's the BU education. If you don't have two goalies that you can count on, you're screwed.
It's tough. If you're number one guy and you have a questionable backup who's never been in that number one role, it's tough to roll him out. Yeah, it's a huge tool to have the ability to have two guys that understand the number one role, the pressure that goes along with it. because, and that's why you talk about the development of goaltenders. Most of them start up in a backup position. And that's sometimes can be easier, but when you're given the number one, for a backup to come in and play, one game out of every 5, every 6, they're comfortable to come in and do a split to play 2 or 3 out of the 6 games. It's a different mindset. That's the number one goalie mindset, and you don't have that. You have to develop that, and usually there's some bumps and bruises along the way to get to that point.
Our training camp bulletin brought to you by NextGen, Golden Knights here at CNA. As they go through some training camp drills, they'll have a scrimmage a little bit later. We'll be joined by Derek Engelland in a little bit as well. The schedule, Shane, we've touched on how crammed it is, but this is nuts, right? They're only going to play 7 other teams. We know about all the realignment and everything else for this year only. They're going to play 7 teams. They're going to play 8 games against their 7 opponents. There's again another simple math equation for you. But they're all 2-game sets, with the exception of they've got 2 4-gamers, right?
One to begin.
Later they play
Anaheim twice, and then Arizona 4.
And then in February, next month, a part of the rumored to be, looks like outdoor game at Lake Tahoe with Colorado. That's part of a 4-game set with Colorado. Pete DeBoer was asked about it yesterday, and he said of everything that's going on and what's going to be an incredibly unique season, he thought the most unique aspect of it was these 2-game sets, occasional 4-game sets. He said it's hard to win back-to-back games against the same opponent. You don't see a lot, if you think about it, you don't see a lot of sweeps in the playoffs. We've seen, obviously, the Golden Knights swept the Kings in year 1, but you don't see a lot of it. His feeling is human nature kicks in that second game if you win the first game, and you tend to maybe take a breath, take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit. They're going to have that all season long against the same opponents, the 3 California teams, Arizona, Colorado, St. Louis, and Minnesota, for 56 games. And then, oh, by the way, play somebody of that mix in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
The human nature and the mindset changes. Again, for whatever reason, I was thinking about this last night. It is tough to play a team. You win that, and Pete DeBoer touched on it yesterday when he spoke after the practice. You win that first game. Human nature is, all right, well, let's try and win this one. It's not, let's go and win. There's really going to have to be a focus, and the buttons are going to be pushed to hammer it home for the players to understand that this is a different scenario. Every game has to be wiped like a playoff. Playoff is different, though, in the sense you lose one, it's like win the next. Lose one, win the next. So if you win a 7-game series, great, you move on. In regular season, if your record's 4-3, you're 1 game above 500. That's not great. It's good, maybe, but it's not great. So you got to change the whole mindset of this, playing the same teams, understanding that your opponent, although the same, you cannot let up. And I'm sure this is going to be discussed, the coaches, the meetings, everything's going to be put forth. So this becomes a bit more of a mental challenge put on the players. Certainly there's a physical with the amount of games they're playing, but there's going to be a mental challenge to overcome in a new look regular season, something that they haven't experienced, playing same teams over and over. I think it's going to build rivalries. I think you're going to, what we all love, when I love to watch games, I love to see the hatred build, the dislike for your opponent. I think that adds to the game. It adds to the intensity, and maybe that'll help each and every game because you say, I can't stand these guys. There's no way we're losing. So you try to grab motivation from wherever you can when you play an opponent, and maybe that'll help. It's something that, I'm sure the staff, they're cognizant of. They're going to address it, and they're going to move on. But until we see it play out, it's going to be interesting because it's a new scenario for these players.
The Golden Knights, as we said, will start their season 9 days from today at T-Mobile Arena against the Anaheim Ducks. First 2 games against Anaheim, then, as we mentioned, 4 straight against Arizona. 6 of the first 8 at the Fortress as well. I will say, Shane, for broadcast schmucks like us, only having to prepare for 7 games, 7 teams. 7 teams.
You're only going to prepare for 7 games out of the 56.
Then the other 49.
The other 49, you're just going to guess.
That's not the worst thing in the world. We'd love to see every team, but that's not realistic. We have some questions here.
Bring them on.
Well, it's a question that it's unfortunate. From Garrett, he says, there's rumors Dave and Shane finished dead last in the VGK Fantasy Football League. Care to comment? Yes, we
I
did.
will comment. I had nothing to do with it. Dave drafted our team and set it up each week. I just basically split the money with him. I couldn't even tell you who was on our team.
I'm going to let you know a little secret. I don't know if we paid yet.
Oh, well, then perfect. We're good.
You owe me. I would say you owe me $10, but
Did we finish? Did you finish dead last?
Did you finish? I think we finished. It was horribly managed by me. You had nothing to do with it. You sat around and I made some moves that led us to a dead last finish.
Zero to do with it.
If you're wondering, so the next question would be who won it. Incredibly Stormy won it. I don't know how that happened. Vegas-born hockey on Twitch wants to know, what do you like in the gold medal game of the World Junior Tournament tonight, Shane? The U.S., of course. You can't say that.
I'm with Canada. All the way.
So let's talk about the three guys in that tournament, VGK connections.
They're all in the game.
All in the game tonight. You get Brendan Brisson for the U.S., their first-round pick just back in the draft not too long ago, and then Peyton Krebs and Caden Korzak for Team Canada. Maybe we start with Brisson. Nate Lehman, who coaches the U.S. team, coached at Providence College as well in the NCAA. Kelly McCrimmon was asked the other day about those three players, and he said he was happy to see that Nate Lehman said he thought Brisson was the most improved player on the team.
I was just going to say, you think of where he's come in a couple of years. Yeah. He starts at Michigan, able to make drafted. They said his development over the last couple of years has really been incredible. This is a player that's got everybody talks about his shot, but his skating stride. He's a young guy, and the experiences these guys are getting right now is imperative to growth in the way they want to become players and continue to evolve to eventually, in their minds, make the National Hockey League. And this type of tournament really, shows them the type of pressure you need to play under, the way they need to prepare, playing in a gold medal game. That's, certainly to win it is the way everybody, but you take lessons from either way. So, Brisson, immediately I think just, his evolution, the way he's been able to grow his game over the last couple years, from playing to going to college hockey, his first year of that, and then right into World Juniors, just tremendous experience for him. Krebs has had a little more, having been in the bubble and being around the NHL players a bit more. He's drafted a year ahead, so there's a little more development in his game, and he's been a big part of the Canadian team. And the thing that I love about Peyton Krebs is he's a skilled player, but he's a guy that will play any role on your team. I watched him in this tournament. His compete level's off the charts. There's no fear. Not a big guy. No fear to be in the corner, to be first guy on the forecheck. He's a guy that does net front presence on the power play. He can be your half-wall guy. He can be in front of the net. Strong along the walls, can play center, can play wing. There's just a lot to his game. And, that's maybe the extra year he has on Brisson. But I've been a big fan of Peyton Krebs, watching him play. And just like Brisson, this is a opportunity for these guys to represent their country, and now they're going to play on the big stage. You're playing the National Hockey League. The big stage comes every game. Here for these guys, it's a huge stage with the world watching. Certainly the U.S. and Canada. This game will be viewed by many, and let's see how they perform. This is where you want to see who can perform in those type of pressure situations. Easy for me to say.
You're in the broadcasting field? Believe it or not. The point about Krebs, and Kelly McCrimmon touched on this the other day, he said, and he's basically playing in a way out of position, right? He's playing the right wing, is a left-hand shot, is a natural center.
But he looks comfortable there. And that's what you love about his game, the ability to adapt. I think he's a no-maintenance type player. He's, where do you need me? I'm in. How do you need me to play? I'll do it. And that's what you love. And do that with the ability, with the skill he already has to his game, and smart. That shows hockey IQ when you have a player that has the ability to transition around the ice, different positions up front, different roles. That really speaks really highly of the type of character you're getting in that player.
So tonight, if you are tuned in, you've got Caden Korzak, who's basically kind of been in that 5, 6, 7 role on D for Canada, but something that Kelly McCrimmon touched on the other day. Watched one of their games over the weekend. He said third period, final 10, 12 minutes. He was out there a lot in
defensive situations.
Key defensive situations. So you've got Krebs and Korzak for Canada, and Brisson playing for the U.S. For the gold medal tonight in the World Junior Tournament up in Edmonton. Of course, Golden Knights Training camp is.
Did you see the
presented by
50-50
Martin
for that?
Construction. No, what's it up to?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your read.
No.
It was over 10 million.
Can we get in on that?
No,
Can we
it's
Venmo
Alberta
that?
only.
Oh.
It rose to over 10
This is
million, the
disappointing
50-50 draw for the World Junior Tournament. Believe me, I tried.
You're Canadian? You
It's-
tried to
so
play on that?
the Albertans in Canada are going crazy for this.
Do you have any friends in Alberta? Maybe you could
I
Venmo
do.
them some
I
money?
do. Actually, I never thought of that. I
You
guess
know,
I got
to
time
put
when
me
I
in
get.
for-
When we're done this,
put
there
me
might
in for
be a
20.
call made.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Where was the big, was it Detroit? Always had the big 50-50 at the old Joe? I want to say it was at the old Joe Louis Arena.
Edmonton's been known for
Edmonton's
it too.
had it.
Both there and with the Eskimos, you know them.
Yeah, well, yeah, they CFL team. I remember a story about the great Doc Emmerich, him and Eddie Olczyk, the former number 1 team on NBC with Doc's retirement. There was a time, I think they were in Detroit, they won the 50-50. And it was for like, it wasn't 10 million, but we'll say it was a lot of money. And they kind of, they alluded to it on the air because they found out like in the second intermission, whenever the heck they pick it.
That'd make the third period a little more exciting.
A good day for all of us. First off, VGK Worldwide, David on Facebook in the UK. That's our second UK hello today. Noah on Facebook in Wisconsin. Brendan on Facebook in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Been to Freddie Beach a few times, Shane. And thanks to King Cole Train for subscribing on Twitch. Dave and Shane with you from City National. Derek Engelland will join us a little bit later to get his thoughts on his retirement and also day 2 of not going through this, which is training camp. And so a couple other things, Shane, before we maybe step aside here just for a couple of minutes. If you're a younger player, and we've talked about, Krebs, one of the guys we haven't talked about yet is Jack Dugan, right? The player out of Providence College, had a terrific year last year playing for the Friars before, everything kind of got cut short. And he was asked yesterday after practice, what would he like to make an impression? And he said, well, he thinks his hockey IQ, his playmaking ability. If you are a younger player, and some of the ones we talked about, you've got a kind of a small window there, I would think, right?
Real
to
small.
make an impression. It's got to be quick, especially in this scenario. No exhibition games to me. You're a younger guy. You might play 4 or 5. You might get every exhibition game, or 5 out of 6, or 6 out of 7. Not the case this year.
No, and you want the players to have the confidence coming in, but it is a big jump. Whether you're jumping from junior or collegiate hockey to pro hockey in general, and then from, say, pro, the American Hockey League to the NHL. There's a jump there. To just skip doesn't happen that often. So the thing that you'd like to see from Dugan is you want him to get his first camp. You want to see progression throughout the camp. You want to see the progression curve go up. You want to see him to start to understand. There's going to be times when he has, an extra minute to make a play. There's going to be times when he's got to make that play in a split second. Everything happens that much quicker. And that doesn't happen instantaneous for a lot of players. It's a learning curve. He's going to get his first year of pro. Now that we know the American Hockey League's going to.
Yep.
So for him, it's to come out into camp to learn. You're playing against the best competition you can. It's going to continue to get better as they go day by day. It's going to, intensity. There'll be a couple days where it might be a little bit of a drop-off. You don't see it as much, especially after what we saw in day 1. I thought it was a real good practice, good pace. Passes were on. Sometimes the hands aren't there early. And for some guys, it's going to continue to improve here. Well, most guys, it will continue to get better each and every day, and that's when these young players are going to notice a difference. They're full of energy, full of adrenaline here to start camp, excitement to get out there, and then there's going to be a party. He said that's where the hockey IQ, all players now that come in understand the game. They're students of the game, and this is where they have a great opportunity to learn as they're on the ice with these NHL players.
You mentioned Henderson in the AHL. Of course, the Silver Knights will be starting their first ever season coming up in early February. Excited to see the HSK kick things off. Jack Dugan, although it would not be his first choice, obviously, but he is eligible to play in the American League. Obviously, Nick Hague is as well. Peyton Krebs and Caden Korzak, as we sit here right now, cannot play.
We need to change
Henderson.
that.
Yeah,
let's get on the horn.
Long story short, the CHL agreement with the AHL, CHL meaning the Canadian Hockey League, if you are 19 years old, you cannot play in the AHL. I think it's kind of a way to not just to take players from their junior teams, and they want to keep those junior teams.
But there is no junior teams for a lot of these players.
Yeah. Right now, the Western League and the Ontario League have yet to play a game. So the thought is they would potentially alter that agreement for this year only to allow these kids that are in that scenario to be able to play somewhere. So, we'll see whether that happens or not. But it's just interesting to note some players are eligible to go play in Henderson. Krebs and Korzak, at least for right now, are not eligible to play.
Yeah,
You got a chance.
I'm uncertain whether they will. I certainly hope so, because it's all about the development of the players. That's why they're drafted by each and every organization, is to be drafted and then to develop. Well, if they can't play anywhere, it's tough to develop. And if, the Western League, Western Hockey League, and the Ontario Hockey League can't get a season going, I believe it falls on the American Hockey League, which is, the biggest development league the National League has, to allow these guys that are draft picks that are 19 years of age an opportunity to play and to develop, because it's so important for them to learn as a player and to progress their skills, their talents. And if they can do it at a pro level, I think it's great. And it helps the organization for them to continue to evaluate these players and see where that potential lies in them.
Well, the Golden Knights, they finished up their practice sessions. Of course, they're utilizing both rinks here at City National Arena. They're going to flood the ice, and then you're going to have a scrimmage here. So at some point during the scrimmage, we're going to welcome in Derek Engelland as well. What we're going to do right now, we'll step aside here for a couple of moments, come back, chat about lots more to get to, and then we will welcome in Derek and get his comments as well on what's going on here. But before we step aside, I wanted to just mention this part of it, Shane. The bubble was one thing over the summer. The NHL could not have possibly asked for it to go any better. Yeah. No positive COVID tests to speak of in the bubble. When they get going here next week or in 9 days, this is a whole different scenario, right? Where they're not in bubble life anymore. You're living your everyday life and hopefully making smart decisions.
With pretty strict protocols.
Every other sport has had their share of issues. We look at our Raiders here, right? I mean, they had some issues with COVID. The NFL, it should be noted and has been noted, did not miss any games though, right? They never canceled any games. They postponed plenty of games. I remember Pittsburgh and Baltimore played on a Wednesday afternoon, right, because they had COVID cases. And it's something that Kelly McCrimmon touched on the other day. You take as much action as you can to try to mitigate that risk. But COVID, as we've seen, obviously and tragically, COVID shows up everywhere. So you just have to. But that is one of the things that they're hoping. They realign the league for this year to try to cut down on travel, crisscrossing the country, but just something to keep in mind. Don't be surprised, and knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But the world being what it is, this is not going to be the bubble life that they were in back in the summertime. This is going to be a much different scenario. Hopefully, though, with no bad results. Well,
you hope. You mentioned they're going to go through everything they can, all the steps they feel are proper here to maintain the safety of the players, the games. But even if you do all that, there is a chance it could come in. Now, how is it going to be handled? We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, you mentioned the NFL's been able to do it and not miss any games, but that's one game a week. The amount of games the NHL has, if it becomes an issue on one team or another, I'm sure they have all the scenarios played out for the National Hockey League. They've looked at it. I believe their preparation, they did a great job for the bubble. They've done it again. I don't think they've taken a break. They came straight from handing out the Stanley Cup and started working on the issues that they could do to present a season this year. And this would have been discussed. How would they handle it if there is? If not, we know what's going to happen. But I'm sure they understand that if there is, they're going to have certain precautions and certain ways to react to it, so that they can't lose games. And maybe there is a postpone or a movement. Do they have the time period? That's the one thing that concerns me, because there's a strict time period on this season to end, to get to playoffs, to hand out the Stanley Cup, and then move on to what they're thinking of the Olympics, which that's not our department and how that's going to work. But
thankfully.
Thankfully. But they'd like this all done by, July 15th? So it doesn't leave you a lot of room if there's games postponed. Where do you tack them in, especially when you're playing every second day? There's, two little breaks?
They've got 5 times they go 3 days in a row.
Okay, so there is some room.
Yeah.
But let's hope it doesn't get there. Let's hope they can manage this as best they can. I think I know it's not a bubble. There still is travel, but it is, it's basically each team is in their own bubble, the way it's structured. And the way I see it, the players, the staff, everybody, the traveling staff, and from there it's, their own plane, their own bus, to the hotel, to the arena, to the plane, home, So
yeah, there is not.
And there's a responsibility that goes on,
Yeah.
just like it did to the bubble. And I thought the players handled it well. They understand the seriousness of it, how they need to respond, as professionals to maintain that they're the safest they can be while playing in the at that time into the playoffs, but now the regular season. So there is some accountability that falls on the players and all the staff and all the people that are involved in that traveling group to stay as safe as they can.
There is not much in having looked through some of the protocols. It's going to be pretty limited for that traveling party. Now, that being said, at least early, we will be, Shane and I and our broadcasters will be at T-Mobile, it looks like, for the home games. Travel for the road games is not an option, at least early. Now, we'll see where things go. Obviously, maybe as you get into March and April if we're in a better place in the world. But I think the plan is, Shane, see us sitting here? Get used to it for the road games.
I like this.
This is better. I like to have a little divider.
We got a divider, separation.
This is perfect. But the plan is we'll be calling road games right here from City National like we did for the return to play back in the summertime. But there's really, what we were all so used to, travel to a city, go out, get a bite to eat, maybe have a beverage, do your thing. None of that.
Maybe have a beverage?
Maybe have a water. None of that for what looks like the traveling party here, as you mentioned. Plane, bus, hotel room, maybe a dedicated conference room in the hotel. That's it. Play the game.
And that's what you need to do. That's the world we're in right now. We certainly hope things get better as the season moves along and maybe things open up eventually. You hope you can see fans back at some point. I'm not sure whether it'll happen or not. None of this we can predict. You can't predict what's going to happen with the virus and how it's going to look a month from now, how the landscape may change as the season moves along. The big thing is you just hope everybody can stay safe. I think they've done a good job in putting the restrictions and how it needs to be handled so they can play the games. People can watch the games. Dave can call the games. And
you'll be there too.
I'll be there too.
You're stuck. VGK Worldwide. Anna Lee on Facebook in Sweden saying hello. Jacob on Facebook in the Czech Republic. Love the Czech Republic. Love Sweden.
People from all over.
This is incredible. Steve on Facebook in Montreal. Lars on Twitter.
Where's all the Australians sleeping? Usually we get a lot of...
big in Australia and New Zealand.
What's the time change there? Yeah,
it's Friday over there. It's a long ways away. Steve on Facebook in Montreal. Lars on Twitter watching in Norway. And hello to our viewers, of course, in the Vegas Valley. Miss having you guys in the stands at T-Mobile. Isn't that the truth? And I'm sure you've kind of been through this too, Shane, over these last crazy 9 months. But how much people miss. It's a social gathering place here for people in Vegas. Going to T-Mobile, going to games. I even have run into some friends over the last few days that they're pumped that games are going to start again. They would love to be able to get to go to some of these games, right? And I guess that's the hope that maybe in a reduced number, whatever that is, people a lot smarter than us, wouldn't take much, could figure that out.
Well, you're so right because, people you've talked to over the years, the Golden Knights games became more than just a hockey game. It became an experience. Because of the entertainment value you have. It's not just, obviously the game is what they're there for, to cheer, to get excited. But, the production, the opening, the intermissions, the whistles, there's so much going on, the crowd noise. But it also became, for a lot of people, they made really close friends that they sit around, that they cheer with, that they get mad with in certain games. And I think that's what made it so special at T-Mobile is, for the people that became new to the game, people that already knew about hockey, but altogether there was a connection made. Certainly a relationship with the players, with the organization, but also with one another and the fans as they went through all the ups and downs that a season can bring you. And that's what makes T-Mobile and Golden Knights fans so special. Is it was more than just about the game. It was about the whole experience. It was about friendships. It was about the people you sat around with. They got to know. And it's a great thing when all those things can build from a hockey game.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, right, as we get going into this season, they'll be able to allow some percentage of fans into the Fortress. No place like it in the NHL. We're going to step aside here briefly, take a quick break. As you can see, the guys back out on the ice. They've got different jerseys on here. They're going to have a scrimmage here, so we will dip into that as well. And as we mentioned a little bit later on in the show, Derek Engelland standing by. He will join us. So, of course, our Golden Knights training camp here from City National Arena as they get set for the season opener 9 days away. And our training camp bulletin brought to you by NextGen. We'll step aside, come back in a few minutes, and pick up the scrimmage here from City National. Day 2 of some scrimmaging here for the Golden Knights. Our training camp bulletin presented by NextGen. Golden Knights, of course, 2 different practice groups, and pretty much, I think, expected for most of camp to follow suit here, which is 2 groups, and then flood the ice and have a practice, have a scrimmage as well as they continue along here, getting set for the season opener 9 days away. Our training camp coverage brought to you by our friends at Martin Harris Construction. As you take a peek, Shane, you mentioned Dave and Shane back with you, incidentally, at CNA. These two dudes. Yesterday, line-wise, you had Carlson back between Marchessault and Smith. The intriguing thing is who's going to be between Pacioretty and Stone. You thought that Cody Glass might make a good fit there, but at least for right now, anyways, Chandler Stevenson in that spot. Glass between Tuck and Nick Waugh, then the Nosek-Reeves carrying line as well. The Golden Knights have also brought in, someone like a Dylan Secura that's played a little bit in the NHL. Danny O'Regan's played a little bit in the NHL. Patrick Brown got a cup of coffee with the Golden Knights last year. Lucas Elvenez as well. Keegan Kolazar, another intriguing name, right? That's spent some time, made his NHL debut with the VGK last year. Tomas Jurko spent a little time in the league as well. Gage Quinney, Jack Dugan, we mentioned among others. But the thought is they'll carry 26, right? You'll have 20 on the roster, 6 on the taxi squad. There's different roster rules obviously this year with where we're at, but they'll carry 20. You'll have 6 extras as they get set here for those decisions to be made as they close in on the season opener here in 9 days.
And big decisions to be made when you're looking at it from a player's perspective. Obviously, number one goal is to make the team, but to make that taxi squad team is a pretty big. There's a good chance you'll see time with the heavy schedule and with, we talked about the landscape of the world right now, and then injuries on top of that. It's going to be important to have guys that you can plug and play in different situations, different roles, both obviously forwards, defense. You can carry as many goalies as you like.
Right. You think they'd be
right now? Logan Thompson and Oscar. I believe Oscar Dance might be that third goalie that they would continue. They had him in the playoffs, and so for the players, and then management. It's a little different, more probably strategic for them to pick players. This is where if you have a young guy, there's no worry about waivers if you put him up and down, because anybody comes off the taxi squad, they're under contract. They may have to clear waivers to go back. There's certain restrictions there, so there's a few things into play on how they're going to select that taxi squad here for the Golden Knights and how it'll play out. Certainly they'll want to have, where they can cover every position, or guys that can play a, center, wing. Certainly more valuable when they have the ability to move around and to go into different situations. So lots to play for, and that's what camp's about, to compete, not only to be there on the starting roster, but to be on that taxi squad where you may have a good opportunity to get into some games.
That last trip out, we shouldn't do, just because you're watching it here, it was Glass along with Waugh and Jurko, just that last run through for the guys in the white jerseys. But again, and there they are again, that trio. But obviously always subject to change here as they move along.
You don't get settled on the lines that are there to start. They'll take different looks throughout camp, because this is a chance for the coaching staff to really look at what they have and maybe different scenarios. Where can this player, if this happens, where can he fit into our lineup? Can he play here? So it gives opportunity for guys to move around and for the coaching staff to really evaluate, and management to evaluate how guys look in different scenarios.
Number 63 you see there in the dark jerseys, Carl Dahlstrom. He came over as part of that Robin Leonard trade from the Chicago Blackhawks last year. So, again, an opportunity here potentially for everybody. But if you look at it, Shane, there is competition. But for a select few jobs, you'd like to think if you mapped out your lineup, you have a pretty good idea what you think it might look like. But certainly, within that competition for ice time, be it Glass, Wah. We'll see if Krebs fits into this.
And you need to roll 4 lines when you're playing this amount of games. The volume of hockey that's going to be played, you're going to need 4 lines. You're going to need 6D.
Right.
It's quite obvious, and that's kind of been the way the Golden Knights have played hockey since coming into the league, is utilizing that whole lineup to be successful and playing with that type of energy, that type of pace, the speed they want in their game to wear down opponents. So you said it looks, as of yesterday, those 4 lines you mentioned that were yesterday, if everybody's healthy, that's kind of how you see it playing out to start. Defensively, they did have Whitecloud and Haig together, who had played in Chicago, on the run to the Calder Cup a few years ago, so they're familiar with each other. And, of course, Whitecloud playing with Holden in the playoffs. I kind of see that pairing to start. Now, this is me again, trying to get in the mind of the coach. If I had, I'm nowhere near the pay grade to make these decisions.
Nope.
But yeah, I see, the Carlson line together, Pacioretty, Stone, Stevenson, Glass, whatever, and then you have Tuck and Waugh, and then, you have your Nosek, Carrier, Reeves line along. Certainly rolling out that top 4 as we saw. I like McNabb and Pietrangelo. I think that's the real, those guys go well, and Martinez and Theodore obviously built so much chemistry last year from playing. I thought Martinez really helped Theodore elevate his game, although his ability certainly had a huge factor in that. And then we see the 5-6. And then we can talk about goaltenders. You got 2 of them. You got 2 number 1 goaltenders. I'm comfortable whoever starts there.
Shane, you know this better than most.
Probably not.
I'm not the brightest bulb in the tree. Carl Dahlstrom was part of the Paul Stastny trade from Winnipeg. Just before, it's a good thing Gordo's over here in the wings, just keeping me on the tracks.
Oh boy! Well, hey, you've got kinks to work out too before we go on air. Get your facts right.
Holy smokes here! All right, let's listen in a little bit to some of the sounds as the Golden Knights continue their scrimmage on day 2 of camp at City National. Scrimmage for the Golden Knights continuing as they continue to go through their paces, getting set for the season opener. Our training camp brought to you by Martin Harris Construction. The Golden Knights closing in. It's going to be here before we know it, and it's going to be a season that's on fast forward. We've said 56 games in 115 days. A lot of them 2-game sets. 2 games against Arizona, 2 games against Colorado, a couple against St. Louis, whatever the case may be. But it's going to be fast and furious for the Golden Knights here as we get set. We welcome you back into Studio 31. Dave Goucher with you. A different guy with a beard over here. Derek Engelland, recently retired Golden Knights defenseman. All right, Engel, so you've been a part of training camps as a pro for 17 straight years. Until the last 2 days. What's it like for you to watch it? Like, I know you were around a little bit yesterday, and obviously here today, waiting to come on with us. What's it been like to watch and not be part of it?
Yeah, it's been it's kind of going to be my telltale sign if I made the right choice. I think it all came down to this. I figured I did going into now, but coming by the rink yesterday and seeing the guys out there and them going through practice and stuff, and I'm pretty confident in my decision, especially with the uncircumstances of this year and the whole bubble situation. I'm getting a little older. I think it's a perfect time to step away from the game and start the next chapter.
So no itch yesterday or today to say, I'd love to be back out there. You're at total peace with the whole thing.
For the most, if I could skip training camp and go in and
it's only 10 days.
My body feels great today, and those guys are probably in a different circumstance right now. So, watching them out there right now, there's obviously you're playing against your own team, so there's not really any hitting or anything like that. But their bodies are still going to be sorer than leading up to camp training. You can't push yourself like you do in camp or in games training. So, I don't miss that. I don't miss being sore and achy. And, when you're 38 and stuff, it's, more of those days come more often. So it's nice to still be involved in hockey and around the rink and see that and, just move forward and still be a part of it.
You mentioned kind of the world we're in, which is, uncharted territory here for the last 9 months. Your decision to say, I've had a great run. I played, and talk about paying your dues, 7 years, be it in the East Coast League or the AHL, then another 10 plus in the NHL. The prospect of maybe going somewhere else, but also the world, like it's not, Shane and I were touching on it earlier, Derek, it's not how we're all used to it, right? Go fly to a city, go out, do your thing, That wasn't going to be part of this equation at all. Was it kind of a combination of those things that you decided this is probably as good a time as any to move on?
100%. When you first got locked down in March, you're 4 months at home, you're training out of your garage, you're going for runs, trying to stay in shape for if the season started. But you're at home every day. You're around the kids. My kids are 8 and 4 now, so they're at that perfect age where you get to see them every day. You see all the stuff you missed being gone, birthdays, Halloween just passed. That was the first Halloween in 8 years I've been spent with cash, things that you don't really maybe notice during the hockey season. Yes, you missed them, but then being a part of it, it goes a lot deeper. And, on the flip side, then you go away for 60 days in the bubble and you're away from them. And, that was the hardest part, I think, for any guy in there is being away from the family. And, it's complete opposite, but it really set it up for, this is the year. If I wasn't coming back here, like you said, to go somewhere else, it's, there's teams talking, but I didn't think it was the right decision for me and my family to pack up and move at Christmas time. And, the uncertainty of the quarantine, the travel, all that. And, on the flip side too, being able to come in and be a part of this team. My goal at the time was to retire here, and it worked out. I come into a job with the team and get to stay around here and watch these guys play and go after that ultimate goal.
It's amazing when you think about it, Derek. Your journey is an incredible one where you start your pro career in Vegas with the Wranglers all those years ago, and you end it here with the VGK as such an integral part of what's happened here over the last 3 years, how much you mean to this community. My math had it at 7 years in the minor leagues, 386 games between the Coast and the American League, another 671 in the NHL. So you're talking over 1,000 games pro. But when you were going through those battles to make it to the NHL, did it ever cross your mind that this might not happen? 1 year turns into 3, turns into 4, turns into 5, 6. That I could have a good career and play in the AHL or whatever it might be, but the NHL might not be in the cards. Did you allow your mind to go there?
Oh, it was there lots. You start in the East Coast. I think as a 21-year-old, you come to Vegas. Never been really out of Canada too much, so coming down to Vegas, you're just excited to be still playing hockey because you go back to my last year in juniors. After that, I went home and was getting ready to put my application in at the Sawmill and start another chapter then. And when Calgary called to come to their summer camp, it was a little refresher to go, and then you're excited to get to Vegas, just to be able to play because you thought your career was coming to an end then. So, and then along the way, it's, there's definitely times that what should I do next? Like, Europe, going over to Europe and playing, or stick it out over here. And, the rules were different back then. I think a lot more guys younger went to Europe because there was that the max at 105 for a veteran player in the A. So a lot of those guys went overseas, and I signed with Hershey for 2 years. So you're in the AHL, and getting through there, winning the Calder Cup kind of inspired you a little more to keep pushing forward. And then Pittsburgh signs you, and 3 years there, it was it was an amazing time. And going to Pittsburgh's camp, and every time I made it a little further, and it just kept you going. There was things, and then on top of that, you have your family, parents, wife, kids, pushing you along. So, it was easy to keep going and keep trying for your dream.
We have some questions from the people, Derek. They want to know, Sean on Twitch, what's your favorite memory of playing in Pittsburgh?
My favorite memory, there's some good fights, for sure, that were good.
Colton Orr, and you and Colton Orr went at it forever.
Jody Shelley, a couple good ones my first year. The Winter Classic was amazing. You play outdoors in a stadium like that.
Were you at the one at Heinz Field?
Yeah, Heinz
okay.
Field. So it was, the day before and the day after were perfect. Chilly, but sunny and everything. And the day that we played, it was rainy and stuff. So you were a little concerned going out there. You're thinking the puck's going to stick on the wall, and it was just water spraying up behind the puck, and it was just a lot of fun. And then the Stadium Series in Chicago as well. It was complete opposite. It was tons of snow, really cold, and that was a different experience. But it was amazing times.
Another question from Primer Falls on Twitch. You were in the bubble with Peyton Krebs, and the question is, how high is his ceiling? Up close, you saw this kid. What do you think, and how far can he go?
Yeah, he's got a extremely bright future ahead for him. He's extremely skilled, sees the ice really well. But the biggest thing I seen was his work ethic. He works, he competes. I came on the winning side more times than not against him. So the D-man, kind of took it to the young guys on forwards, and he got mad. He's throwing his stick, and he just wanted to keep going. And a guy at my age, you got to call it. You get that lead and call the game. It's time to get off the ice, and he'd be out there picking up pucks, wanting to play some more. So his upside is it's going to be fun to watch him come in here and eventually play whenever that is, and he's going to do some special things for here.
Another question from Sarah on YouTube. You mentioned earlier your next chapter, your new role. Maybe talk a little bit about what that's going to be, and what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, it's a lot of everything. I kind of want to leave all doors open these next couple of years, and see what I like and what I'm good at, I guess you could say, and and you know, there's going to be a lot of charity work, the Learn to Play, you know, working for Bill, anything he needs for any of his businesses. You know, the alumni we got to get rolling here. Me and Shane are slowly working at that. So
the two of you guys are in charge of this?
so far, we'll see if someone takes over anytime
We'll
soon.
see where this goes.
You know that, and you know, I'm on here with you guys, so we'll see how this goes, and you know, just kind of leaving everything open. Haven't made any decisions yet. Obviously, the job's description's there, but there's no door you're not going to open or anything like that. So just be a part of the team and do whatever I need to do.
Last year, Derek, Shea Theodore seemed to take just a leap into another level in his career. And it seemed maybe even especially after the pause, the return to play, he was terrific in the playoffs. You played a lot with him in your time here. Kind of the ceiling question, referring to Krebs, what do you see for Shea, the improvements he's made in his game, and you know, how far can he go down the road?
I think he's going to be, you know, one of the top Ds in the league for years to come. He's still in his 20s, so he's got a long road ahead of him. But you know, his confidence has been the biggest thing I've seen. You know, he's holding on to the puck longer. He's you know, making those plays that at first maybe he would get rid of it a little faster out of his hands, but he creates so much out of nothing. And you know, it's going to be fun to see him this year with another top D man on the team and learning from him too. And you know, the ceiling for him is extremely high as well.
You mentioned Alex Pietrangelo, big free agent signing for the Golden Knights, and you know, a lot of times killing penalties. You were with Braden McNabb over the last few years. There were times you just kill the whole thing, or you just stay out there. It looks like Pietrangelo is going to start at least with McNabb. What's that like to play with Braden? You know, because you were out there with him a lot over the last few years. What is he? You know, is he an easy guy to play with? Is it? You know, you guys seem to have really good chemistry when you were out there together.
Yeah, he's an easy guy to play with. We play a similar game, so we kind of think similar. But it all comes down to talk and communication, especially killing penalties. You know, if you're not in the play, but you're yelling at the guy, telling him what to do, it just makes his job a lot easier. You know, but he's a warrior. He's going to block everything he can. Doesn't matter if it's with his face or whatnot. You know, he's another goalie out there sometimes. So he makes it easy. And you know, Petro, I don't know him personally or anything, but he's a great D-man, and you know, it's going to be fun to watch him come into his own here in Vegas.
You know, you played here under both Gerard Gallant and Pete DeBoer, but Ryan McGill runs the defense. What's that like? You know, we've gotten to know Ryan a bit away from the rink, but to have him sending you guys out there in the rotation and the matchups, what does he bring to it from a defensive standpoint as a coach?
He brings a lot. He brings experience. He played, you know, a while, and he's a great guy. He doesn't. Once you get going in the season, he always tells you, you know, you guys can run the D. He's just there to help you out, give you pointers. You know who you're playing against. You know when you got to go out there. You know, if he has to pat you on the back to tell you get out there, you know you're not paying attention enough. So he's great. He always wants you to get better. Doesn't matter who you are. He's there to help and be part of achieving your goals.
So you're saying as the season goes on, he basically, I don't want to say turns it over to you guys, but you guys are self-sufficient enough that basically you guys do run it. You know the matchups. You know who you want to be out there against and who you should be out there against.
Yeah, for the most part. You know, some things change, scores of the game and stuff like that. But for the most part, after 3 or 4 shifts, you know who you're going against, and it's you know, especially if you're at home, you see who jumps the boards for them, and you just go. You know, if he wants to change something up because it's an offensive zone draw and he wants, you know, Theo out there, he'll yell at you to come back. But you know, on a regular face-off and 0-0 game, you know who's going, so it makes his job a little easier if you're paying attention.
Great to have Derek Engelland with us here, Studio 31. We're going to take a little bit more of a listen here to what's going on at City National. The scrimmage continuing here, of course, for the Golden Knights, and our training camp bulletin brought to you by NextGen. Now the Golden Knights in the final minute or so, you can see at the top of your screen just a moment ago the clock there, but under a minute left, and you can see that for the second day in a row, the referee is Ryan McGill sporting the stripes and the orange armbands. Ryan Craig, the other guy. Thank you, Derek. Fine. It's a good thing you're here. I get corrected by the other guy plenty. No, is it, Ryan Craig that's out there. If I paid attention, I would know these things. Before we go, Derek, what do you as you watch this, and you're obviously intimately tied to this group, what piques your interest the most here throughout camp? I know it's a short camp, but, what jobs do you see maybe to be won? What piques your interest as you look at this group right now?
Yeah, a lot. Like you guys were talking about earlier, all the competitions. Like you said, 5 through 8's up for grabs on the blue line. It like you said, it makes everyone better. Everyone pushes their game to another level, and it makes everyone better, team better, everything. So the goaltending, like you guys said, you guys covered it all. Having 2 starting goalies, one's going to be a future Hall of Famer, and another starter that can play every other night type thing. It's going to be a huge advantage for the team, and with our schedule coming out with a big chunk of them at home off the start, it's a huge advantage to get out to a big start, on home ice.
You played. We documented your time playing, be it in the East Coast League or the AHL. You know all about the 3 games and 3 nights. You play Friday somewhere, Saturday somewhere, probably Sunday afternoon somewhere else. It was really 3 games in 2.5 days. But everyone's doing that. This schedule this year in the NHL is, and again, everyone's going to be doing it, but never seen anything like this, right? This is nuts. What are some? Is it rest, recovery, reload, and get ready for games? Is that going to be a huge key for guys as they move along here?
Yeah, I think so. I think rest is going to be a huge key. Take care of your body, with treatments and all that stuff. Playing every other day, and it's going to take a toll. Maybe you're not traveling as much, but like you guys said too, the rivalries. It's going to get some chippy games, I think. So it's going to be fun to watch, and there's going to be guys banged up playing, and what you do away from the rink and off the ice is going to be a huge part of it.
What do you think is, and I know you're new to this, you haven't even, it's been recent, your retirement announcement, but what do you think you'll miss the most? Training camp would not be one of them, but as you look at it, what do you think you're going to kind of say, geez, I'd give anything to be back involved in this?
Just hanging out with the guys in the locker room. That's, you ask any ex-player, that's what you're going to miss, that family in the locker room, hanging out every day, going on road trips, on the plane, all the trash talk and the fun you have with them. So that's the main thing. Like you said, you're not going to miss the camps or training all summer for testing or anything like that. It's the time with the boys.
We've got a couple more here, Derek. We've got a big audience here on Twitch today, so a lot of our questions are coming in from them, and also YouTube. So this is an interesting one from our Twitch people. Now that you're retired, what food are you most looking forward to just eating and not even having to worry about it?
I'm trying to eat really healthy. Kind of got away from that on Christmas, but it's the holidays, from Christmas to New Year's. There's no rules, I guess you could say, and I'm trying to eat fairly healthy, but I'm a big steak guy, so I like a good barbecued steak, and so it's nothing crazy, but yeah.
Any desserts?
I actually, speaking of Christmas, my wife did a bunch of baking, and I think 2 or 3 days after Christmas, I just took them on, dumped them all in the garbage, and I don't have the will. If it's sitting there, a plate of cookies, I don't have the will. But you walk by, I'll just have one, and then you walk by 8 times and have eight cookies down. So I didn't have the willpower, and our 4-year-old come down right after I threw them all out, and he's like, "Where'd the cookies go?" And he was pretty mad. He was pretty upset that Dad had no willpower, and I had to throw them all out. So.
Can't the boys enjoy some cookies?
Yeah, exactly.
Evidently not. I'm with you. I had a buddy of mine call me recently. He said, "You're a chocoholic." He's right. If it's there, especially over the holidays, like I can't. I don't have that much discipline. Who's kidding?
No,
Who?
exactly.
Another one from Twitch. What's your favorite sport to play other than hockey?
I love golf. I haven't played it much at all lately. Anything outdoors. I have a side-by-side, so I go out side-by-siding out to Pioneer and those type of places. So I enjoy taking the kids out there, the family out there, or going out with friends. So golf's probably the sport so far.
What's your handicap these days?
My last game was really bad. I need new clubs, though. I went in the bubble. I tried the new TaylorMade 790s, and they were phenomenal. I was dialed in with them. And then I came home, and I have some TaylorMades from, I don't even know, Wilkes-Barre still, so 10, 12 years ago. And
Woodwoods?
Oh, almost. I remember starting with them, Woodwoods, but no, I couldn't hit them worth a darn. And, it's I need to go get fitted for some and get some new clubs, but hopefully I'll get it down to, in the mid 80s would be nice.
Yeah.
I'm, mid 80s, 80s, 90s.
Ish. Shane and I play.
85 to 92 on average, I guess, right now.
Wrong with that. That's my wheelhouse. Shit, I think TaylorMade 790s. I think Ryan McGill, just got those clubs. And he's out there shooting 81.
Yeah.
It's not even fun to play with him anymore.
They're phenomenal.
It's ridiculous. All right, a couple of more for you, and then we'll let you go do something much more enjoyable. Who do you like in the gold medal game? I mean, ask you from Canada.
From Canada, I got to go with Canada.
Okay, fine.
Have you watched? Krebsy's my boy too.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
I gotta cheer him on.
That's right. Have you watched much of the tournament?
I haven't. Like I said, I got 8 and 4-year-old running around. If you turn the TV on, it's cartoons, and we try to stay away from that. So,
do you get to watch anything you want in the house, or no?
Yeah, once you put the kids to bed, it's we're trying to crush out Chicago Fire right now. We're season 5, I think. We already went Chicago PD during the quarantine, so we're on Chicago Fire right now.
Just finished. This was a Shane recommendation. Hell on Wheels. Have you seen Hell on Wheels?
No, I haven't heard of it.
It's terrific. You'd love it. Basic premise is the building of the Union Pacific Railroad after the Civil War.
Okay.
Kind of the competition between the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific, but all that went into those times. You're talking, 1865, 6, 7. It's
I'll have to watch
5 seasons long. Yeah, we binged it. It was awesome. All right, one more for you, Derek. This is a good one to end on. Liliana on YouTube. What's something you learned in your hockey career that you will take with you now, kind of for the rest of your life? Maybe a life lesson. Is it something you carry with you now as you move forward to your days of not playing anymore and into your next chapter?
Yeah, for me, it's been all about hard work, working hard to get where I'm at, and I think it's no different to whatever you're doing. If you work hard and put your best in, good things are going to happen. So take that into the next chapter, and you can always improve and stuff like that. But if you're working hard, it's going to be a big key.
Well, Derek, we appreciate the time very much. It's great to be able to kind of catch up with you here. This has been fantastic. Thanks for this. Hopefully we'll do it again.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
All right, Derek Engelland with us. It was nice to have Shane on earlier, too. He's right over here. But no, we'll have Shane back.
Probably surprised he's not home already.
Yeah. But our thanks to everyone watching on all of our social media channels. Tomorrow, join Dan Duva and Mike McKenna. They will be in these same chairs. Thanks for tuning in today. And, of course, day 2 of Golden Knights training camp in the books. Our training camp bulletin presented by NextGen.